So the customer brought me this F-150 because of a front end noise he was hearing. It almost sounded like a wheel bearing. That's kind of what he suspected it to be, but it wasn't. So I road tested the vehicle and it had the noise. It sounded just like a wheel bearing, but if you go back and forth like this ever so slightly, you can usually hear the pitch change of a wheel bearing. When you turn the wheel, it puts a little more load on the wheel bearing and makes it roar more. This truck wasn't doing that. It was just a constant. The faster you go, the more noise it had. I know from experience that these things with these vacuum hubs can give issues. So I'll give you one symptom and a fix for that on a noise this truck didn't have. Sometimes if you get kind of hard on the throttle, these trucks don't produce a lot of vacuum. That's why they have a vacuum pump on the back of the head. The newer ones don't have it, 18 nups. This truck has a vacuum pump for brake assist and stuff like that. These vacuum hubs, the little hard lines, they're plastic little hard lines. You got rubber that comes from here because they're always flexing up and down with the wheel. But once they go up here to the frame, they turn into hard lines. Those things are brittle. They crack pretty easily. Sometimes, if they're bad enough, you can hear like a hiss noise when you got the vehicle running. But one thing I like to do is I'll go under the hood where the vacuum solenoid is, because anytime these trucks are cut off, the hubs come out and they lock the front end. When you crank them up in the morning, anytime you fire them up, vacuum pulls the hubs out so it's in two-wheel drive. If one of those lines are broke, then the hub always stays locked, which is what happened in this truck, and I'll show you why. But back to if you have a cracked line, these things will still unlock the hubs, but under heavy throttle, you'll hear a grinding noise in the front end. It's hard to explain, but you'll know it. You lift off the throttle, the noise goes right away. I've had customers come in thinking their turbos were bad when they would get on throttle, but it would actually be this hub ever so slightly, it was losing vacuum and it was going in and it was just grinding against the wheel bearing. Because if you look, the wheel bearing has teeth on it, the axle has teeth on it, but the vacuum part of the hub is always riding on the axle, and when it unlocks, it just pushes in towards the wheel bearing and it locks the axle to the wheel bearing. So with vacuum, it pulls it away and unlocks the hubs. So if you got a cracked line and say you just get on the throttle kind of hard and you'll, like a constant throttle, and pretty much you lose your vacuum in the hubs and you'll hear one of them start grinding, but because it's trying to lock, but it can't. This truck here, actually, the vacuum hub separated on the inside, because there was one time I took off on a red light and the thing actually, the noise went away. So what was happening was I jacked this truck up, and what I always like to do is the solenoid that I showed you just a while ago, I like to pump pressure up on that as much as I can with a little hand vacuum pump. And I like to watch the gauge and see if the gauge falls. If the gauge doesn't fall, then your lines are fine, you'll have no cracks, and typically everything's fine. But with this truck, I put it on the lift, I jack it up, and I crank the truck, and I check and see if the hubs are unlocked. If you don't have a vacuum pump, that's how I do it. The hubs wouldn't unlock, so I'm like, all right, it could be a solenoid. So that's when I break that line loose at the solenoid and I hook my vacuum pump and I pump pressure. If it holds pressure, I come out and I try to rotate the tires, see if the axles are locked to the hubs. The driver's side unlocked, this side remained locked no matter what I did. I even took a hammer and kind of tapped on the knuckle to see if it maybe was just locked up. It never would unlock. So what I actually found, the vacuum part of this hub was fine. This is your vacuum hub. You got your line right there. The line with the bigger hole is the one that gets vacuum from. So what I like to do to test these, if I got them off the vehicle, vacuum pump, or you can push them in and put your finger over that hole and you'll look and see this thing's stuck down. If you release your finger, it comes up. So this is a good hub, brand new one. So I've never seen one actually do this. Usually it's always a broke line that causes these things to act funny. But this is the vacuum hub off of it. Looks fine. Holds vacuum. But these things are fused together like with plastic, and the plastic actually come undone. I guess they're like friction welded together, like plastic welded. So you can see the other part of the plastic in there is supposed to be fused to this, and that thing's supposed to be locked together. So what was happening was this thing was in there, the vacuum would come out, or the vacuum would suck it in, but this part would remain on the axle and the wheel bearing, causing the axle to stay locked. So this wasn't causing the noise, actually. What the noise was, I mean, it was causing the noise, but the noise was actually the spider gears in the differential. So driver's side was unlocked, passenger side was locked. So you got the wheels rotating, driver's side's unlocked, axle's trying to stay still, but the passenger side's locked. So it's got the inside differential rotating, and if you don't have both sides rotating, spider gears rotate. Differential stays still, the differential's never moving, but the spider gears in there just winding like crazy. So the noise you're actually hearing is the spider gears just spinning really, really fast, and it's never good. It's never a good thing. It's pretty much how, if you turn with a rear differential, you turn, spider gears just do their thing to keep the tires from barking whenever you're going around a corner. This thing was just spinning the spider gears at some crazy, crazy speeds. So we'll get this new vacuum hub put on, and that is gonna take care of the noise on this truck. But yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to drop a comment down below, and I'm more than happy to answer them. If you need to message me directly, I got Instagram. It's Derek_Gaskins on Instagram. And yeah, if you found this video helpful, throw a like on it. I appreciate you watching. See you in the next one.